disgusting, perverted individual preying on children that you dismissed the case. As the father of 2 young girls, one of them's 5. That is as shameful as anything I have seen. Quit defending the indefensible. You clearly don't.
Absolutely
You dismissed the case, and it's shameful.
Sir,
you're a coward.
In today's explosive Judiciary Committee hearing, lawmakers went head-to-head with Fairfax County Attorney Steve Descano over sanctuary policies, immigration enforcement, and accusations of unequal justice under the law. What started as a policy debate quickly turned into a fiery confrontation that exposed just how divided America has become on border security and public safety. Before we get into it, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our daily coverage of the biggest political battles shaping America right now.
It's one of several blocking or trying to block agents from getting undercover license plates for use in their operations. The DOJ says that is risky. And it wrote this discriminatory policy is not only deeply dangerous as a matter of public safety, but also blatantly unlawful as a matter of constitutional law. House Republicans are focused on Virginia in particular. They pressed Fairfax County's Attorney General, Steve Descano, on his sanctuary policies at that red-hot Judiciary Committee hearing you saw here as it was unfolding live on the Faulkner Focus yesterday.
Would we be safer if he wasn't in the country then? Would we be safer, yes or no?
Sir,
yes or no, or to be safer if the man wasn't in the country? Damn it, answer my question.
Sir, I'm trying. You keep changing the question.
Disgusting, perverted individual preying on children that you dismissed the case. As the father of 2 young girls, one of them's 5. That is as shameful as anything I have seen. Quit defending the indefensible. You clearly don't.
Absolutely
not. You dismissed the case, and it's shameful.
Sir,
you're a coward.
Chairman Jim Jordan also went after Descano for removing this section from his website. Here it is on the screen. Wherever possible, Steve will make charging and plea decisions that limit or avoid immigration consequences. And if 2 people commit the same crime, but only one's punishment includes deportation, that's a perversion of justice and not a reflection of the values of Fairfax County. Watch this.
Why did you change your website last month?
Well, sir, your statements about don't want to prosecute guys is absolutely false. And my policies so far in this hearing...
Are you saying what the sheriff wrote me is wrong? When you make campaign statements, those aren't true? You're not being honest with your voters?
That's not what I'm saying at all, sir.
Sure sounded like it. Sure sounded like it.
It's absolutely not.
This is almost laughable. This is your policy. You said it right here. You told the voters, if you elect me, I will take into account immigration consequences when making charging and plea decisions.
This is my policy, not what you have in your hand.
And focus with me now, Chairman Jim Jordan. Look, I just want to give you the floor to tell us what it was like to talk directly with Descano and talk about some of his answers.
Well, he's obviously given preferential treatment to non-citizens. I mean, it's supposed to be equal treatment under the law, but what he's doing it with his decisions on charging and on plea agreements, he's saying exactly what he said on his website to the voters in Fairfax County. I will take into account their immigration status, their deportation status, when deciding what to charge. So you got an American who commits same crime as an illegal migrant. He's going to go lenient. He's going to go lesser on the illegal migrant. It's supposed to be equal treatment under the law here in the United States. So that is the big problem. And then when you couple that with this sanctuary jurisdiction policy, it's much bigger than Fairfax County. Almost a third of the country now lives in a jurisdiction where the political class tells local law enforcement not to work with federal law enforcement when it comes to enforcing federal law. So all that's going on in a third of the country. That's what we're trying to stop. That's why we've introduced legislation. It's passed our committee. We think it'll pass the House real soon. And that's why the Justice Department is specifically looking into Steve Descano, because he is not treating people equally under the law.
Look, he changed the wording, or someone did on his behalf, to say that was the truth about him, and they just wiped that right out. I'd like to know what he plans to do. Is he going to put that back? Did he mean it? Wow.
Well,
all right.
The timing is interesting too, Harris, because it was shortly after we said we want you to come in to a hearing and answer our questions. Shortly after the Justice Department announces that they're investigating this guy, Shazam, suddenly he decides, oh, I'm going to change that website, and that's really not my policy, even though I told the voters who I'm supposed to represent that it was my policy.
Yeah. Look, you mentioned how many other places. Let's look at another one. Critics are going after Maryland Democrat Congressman Jamie Raskin for not understanding sanctuary jurisdictions, or maybe he was faking it. Ignorance. I don't know. Let's watch.
I'm curious, why can ICE not pick up, with its massive resources, why can they not pick up the prisoners while they are still being held? Or right before they're about to be released, or at the point of discharge? I don't really understand that.
Okay, so again, we don't know if he doesn't understand or if he's faking it, but it's important to note he is the ranking member of the Judiciary Committee.
Yeah.
Chairman.
And ICE will pick them up if they get notified. What happens is they'll send a detainer notice, and then the local jurisdiction, because the politicians have passed ordinances or laws that say you can't work with federal law enforcement, the local jurisdiction will say, we're going to release this guy. They won't notify ICE. They won't tell him when the date is. They'll just let the guy out. I've seen the forms. They actually stamp on the forms, release to the streets. And then, of course, it takes several ICE agents to go out on the street to get this guy who's maybe been let off for an additional crime, who's supposed to be deported, and they got to go out and deal with all the stuff on the street, the harassment, the doxing, the tracking, the being spit on, the being attacked. They got to deal with all that when they could have had one agent show up at the jail and apprehend the guy there. But these jurisdictions say no. They give ICE the finger and they let this guy out on the street.
Well, and it's more dangerous to go after somebody when they think that they have freedom, and all of a sudden, however illegal that freedom may have been gained, all of a sudden they want to fight. Real quickly, do you believe Raskin, or do you think he's just not really clear on what he's talking about in terms of jurisdiction?
I think it's all part of the left and this attack on ICE. I mean, understand what the left has done. During the Biden administration, they let in 10 million illegal migrants. Then they create sanctuary jurisdictions all over the country, representing almost a third of the population, where it becomes difficult to remove those illegal migrants even when they commit another crime. And then third, they defund ICE. They defund the guys who do the removing. So that's their three-part plan, and Descano has taken it a step further. Descano says, I'm not even going to charge him. I'm just going to let him go. That is how ridiculous the left has become, and that is why we had the hearing yesterday, and frankly, that is why the Justice Department is investigating Mr. Descano's office.
Right, and it's hard to believe then that, based on what you just laid out, that the ranking member, the top Democrat on the Judiciary Committee, doesn't understand the jurisdiction laws about sanctuary cities and states.
I think he understands.
We'll say he's faking the funk. All right, good to see you. Thank you.
The hearing centered around one major question: should local prosecutors in sanctuary jurisdictions cooperate fully with federal immigration enforcement agencies like ICE? Republicans on the committee argued the answer is simple. If someone commits a serious crime and is in the country illegally, federal authorities should be notified immediately. They say sanctuary policies make communities less safe and force ICE agents into more dangerous situations by requiring them to track suspects down on the streets instead of safely taking custody at local jails. During the hearing, tensions exploded when lawmakers accused Fairfax County Attorney Steve Descano of giving special consideration to immigration consequences during plea deals and charging decisions. Critics pointed to language previously displayed on his campaign website suggesting his office would attempt to avoid immigration-related consequences whenever possible. Jim Jordan pressed Descano hard on why that language reportedly disappeared from the website after federal scrutiny increased. Republicans argued that changing the wording raised serious questions about transparency and accountability. One of the most emotional moments came when lawmakers discussed cases involving violent offenders and accused sanctuary-style policies of prioritizing political ideology over public safety. The exchange became heated, with accusations flying across the committee room as members debated whether equal justice is truly being applied. The hearing also expanded into a broader national debate about sanctuary jurisdictions across the United States. Republicans claim nearly one-third of Americans now live in areas where local officials limit cooperation with federal immigration enforcement. Maryland Congressman Jamie Raskin also faced criticism during the hearing after questioning why ICE could not simply retrieve detainees before release. Republicans responded by arguing that many sanctuary jurisdictions refuse to notify ICE when detainees are being released, making enforcement operations more difficult and more dangerous. Now, here's the bigger issue Americans should be paying attention to. This debate is no longer just about one county in Virginia. It's about whether federal immigration law will be enforced consistently across the country. Supporters of sanctuary policies argue they protect immigrant communities and encourage cooperation with local law enforcement. Critics argue they create a two-tiered justice system where immigration status affects legal outcome. As a patriot who believes in law, order, and equal justice, I think Americans deserve clear policies that prioritize public safety first. No matter where you stand politically, transparency and accountability from elected officials matter. If politicians campaign on one position and later deny it under pressure, voters have every right to ask questions. And let's be honest, Americans are exhausted by political games while border security, crime, and immigration remain major national concerns. The American people want laws enforced fairly, communities protected, and elected leaders willing to answer tough questions directly. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.